guys, we have arrived in Florence, have our suitcases in the back, and we're going straight to see a wedding venue. We are seeing 2 wedding venues today. So during this trip, we have a few wedding venues lined up in Italy as well as in south of France, and trying to see which kind of venue fits the aesthetic and vibe that we're looking for our wedding. Samson and I are going to be having a pretty small, intimate wedding with just close friends and family. I just wanted to feel very like homey, intimate, and obviously the vibes for south of France and Italy are very different, but I've never seen any wedding venues in either places, so that is what this trip is for. The first wedding venue we're going to look at today is a villa. The venues we're looking at are also places that people can stay at, so I think it'll be really fun to look at the surroundings and the restaurants inside.
Some of them are wineries. They have like different wine tastings, so it's kind of fun. You get to go and just spend a couple hours and really just take your time and really look at the venues. It's nice. Should be pretty fun.
Well, we are also a little cracked out from the plane ride because it was quite a long flight, and I'm being the passenger princess and Samson is driving 2 hours to the venue, but we'll keep you posted. I'm excited to start this wedding series and take you guys along with us. The first venue we went to was in Tuscany. It was a beautiful villa. Right after we arrived, I was like, wow, this space just feels so scenic and peaceful. I loved the garden and the outdoor space. It was actually very big and nicely separated. It overlooks the mountains and the hills in the back. This area over here is where we were doing the dinner. Just imagine a long tablescape with flowers and lights. And these are the villas which our guests will be staying at. This part sleeps 8?
7 rooms up here
7.
and 1 there.
Okay, 8 rooms. Okay,
Yes,
8 rooms. This villa actually has so many accommodations for the guests, which I really liked. There is a gym for them, and there's a kitchen, there's a pool, which they're building right here. It's not done yet, so it was kind of hard to imagine it. They were actually renovating a lot of the outdoor space, so it's really up to the imagination. This part was one of the common dining rooms, which I thought was really nice and homey, and I love this part. This is where the bride and groom would stay. A beautiful view, private little terrace, and it just feels very spacious and homey. And then these are some of the common areas for our guests, a little shared living room area, coffee bar, and this could be one of the areas for our ceremony. The other one they showed us was kind of just in a grass field, so I like this one better, and I wanted to see if it was big enough for 50 to 60 guests to sit around. And we really love the background over here, but honestly, after visualizing it, I feel like it's not going to be enough space for 50 to 60 guests, so I don't think this ceremony part would work. We just took a look at this venue. It is really beautiful. I really like it a lot, and there's like a lot of rooms too, so that'll be nice for our guests to stay in. The only thing is they are doing some renovations, so I feel like it's kind of hard to imagine what it's going to look like after the renovations are done, but from what I see, I don't know. This one is really beautiful, and I feel like this villa just has a lot of character. It also has a lot of different like components to it, which is really nice because we're gonna want to do like different activities with our guests. We're heading to our next location now, which is around an hour. This one, based on the photos online, it looks really promising, so I'm excited to see it. Today's actually quite gray and it's raining a little bit, so I feel like it's not going to do it justice, but I think it's still worth a look. This is venue number 2. Started off with some coffee and toured the grounds. This was such a beautiful outdoor space. I love the villa. I love the background. It was a beautiful pool, obviously, as you can see here. And again, the mountains in the back just really make the whole space feel so grand. This was the outdoor area that we can use for our dinner and our reception, and it was really nice. And this over here is where the ceremony would happen, which was my favorite part. Just look at that background. It's so beautiful. They also showed us a plan B in case it rains during the ceremony or for the dinner and reception. And this part is where the dancing would take place after 10 o'clock because they have like a timing constraint for outdoor noises, which I wasn't really a huge fan of. And this is one of the common areas for the guests, which has kind of like a completely different feel than the first place. This is where the groom and the groomsmen would get ready, which I thought was really cool. And then finally, we saw some of the bedrooms that our guests will be staying at. Samson and I will be talking about all our thoughts on these venues at the end of the video, but let's move on to venue number 3. This was in Provence, such an incredible, beautiful chateau space. This is where the ceremony would be, which I was like, wow, this is straight out of a movie. It looks so beautiful. I really fell in love with this outdoor space, but seeing the rest of the venue, I was like, this is just a little bit too big for 50 to 60 guests, honestly. We did some drone shots. Here is kind of like the look of the vineyard, which as you can see, it was huge. And again, it was just such a big space for only 50 to 60 people. They told us that it was like 50 to 150 people, so I guess we should have known. But this is what the chateau looked like, which I was like, wow, this is incredible. Like the pool, and this is where our guests would be staying at. This is the bride and groom suite. It was definitely a lot more modern than the ones that we saw in Tuscany. A huge closet space, which is obviously great, and huge bathroom as well. They also had a restaurant that was part of the venue, which I thought was really cool. Really just such a stunning venue. I definitely think if we had a larger guest count, we would probably go with this one, but we just don't. So it kind of just felt like it would be a waste of space. Look at how stunning everything is. It's literally out of a storybook. So we're off to see venue number 4, and I actually really love venue number 4. We'll talk about it towards the end. There's actually 2 parts of venue number 4. This is the first part, and this is the dining area, which we could also do for the dinner portion, which was beautiful. I love the greenery in the background. And this is the bedrooms that our guests will be staying at. Super spacious, super luxe, and I really love that. I feel like it's really important to see where your guests will be staying at to give them a good experience as well. And then the outside is obviously gorgeous. We then went to see where the ceremony would be taking place, and this is what it looks like. They showed us examples with like an arch and flowers, and it was really beautiful. Just walking around the grounds, it just felt so peaceful, and I feel like our guests would really enjoy it too. Option A also had a stunning pool. This is what it looked like. Just look at that. I'm like, oh my god, I really wanted to go into that pool. And then we're heading off to the second option for this venue. So it's split up into 2. It was like a huge ground, and I really loved option B. I just think that it looks a lot more scenic. I love this part, which is where the dinner would be taking place. This is the inside part in case of any weather conditions. The host space just feels so intentional. This is the outdoor part, which I really like. Just imagine with like some fairy lights. And then they also had a beautiful pool for option B too. We are coming to the end of our trip, and we have seen some of the wedding venues that we came here for. We actually had 2 wedding venues that weren't able to see us the day of, and I thought we would kind of just share our thoughts on each of them, the pros and cons, and what we liked and didn't like about it.
What do you think about the ones in Tuscany?
So the first one, we actually started off really well. I feel like the first one was a really nice venue.
It was really nice, spacious, but it wasn't too big. It wasn't grand. It was very intimate. They had a wraparound terrace. The lawn area in which we were going to do the dinner was very nice.
The major con of that venue was I feel like the ceremony space just wasn't very well thought out almost. It wasn't like as intentional as the rest of the place. Like the rest of the place had the dinner spot, it had the reception spot, it had like the cocktail hour, but then the ceremony was just like kind of a random patch of grass, but the trees around it I wasn't even like a fan of. I don't think they were that nice, and I feel like if that area was more thought out and just like a little bit better, we might have gone with that.
There was also like a little cottage with a great view for just the two of us.
That's like where we would be staying, and that was really nice. And then even like the rooms for like our friends and family, they would have been really nice too, because
I feel like that's important too. If our friends and family are going to come all the way out here to Tuscany for our wedding, it's important that they have like a nice environment to stay in, and I feel like it was really good. It's just the fact that the ceremony just kind of took place in a makeshift lawn.
But I mean, TBD, I think that's still something that we might consider.
It checks a lot of our boxes.
The second venue that we viewed in Tuscany was really nice. Everything about the outside, from where the dinner would be to the ceremony, was really like nice and grand and just perfect. But then the rooms in there,
the design for the interior of it was very historical.
I guess.
There's a lot of antiquated furniture. A lot of these things just look like I would be afraid to touch or sit down on.
Especially since we will be staying at that villa for like 2-3 days.
Also, some of these who are closer in proximity to other venues have
like a time limit. And as to like what time we can have the music and stuff. So then afterwards, we were in Provence and we saw 2 venues there. We're supposed to see a third one that I actually really liked, but they weren't able to see us the day of. First one we saw was a huge space. I feel like we did not need that big of a space because, like I said, we're only going to have 50 to 60 guests, like our closest friends and family, so we really just don't need such a huge space. And from the pictures of that venue, it didn't look as big, but once we were there, we were like, I think this is just like way too much space for only 50-60 people. Like, it's more for like 100 to 200 people. But that venue was really beautiful. A little bit more on like the modern side, chateau vibes, very like south of France, but it was very beautiful. It was just a little bit too big for us.
Our friends would get lost in the venue.
I feel like if you are having a bigger wedding, that might be a nice venue to consider.
Oh yeah, it's definitely great. It also slept a lot of.
It would have slept everybody. It was like 50 people, I think, that it can sleep, which was really nice that everybody would be in the same place. And then for the second venue, it was actually split up into 2 parts. A very, very big overall space.
The person who showed it to us mentioned it's 20 acres.
20 acres, which is huge. And then it's split up into like 2 different parts. We had to go from like point A to point B in like a car. So it's like 2 separate little areas of the venue. The first venue part that we saw, it was nice, but it wasn't like anything like spectacular. And then we went to the second part and we really, really liked that area because you could see the mountains. It was very naturey, so scenic, and a little bit smaller, so it felt a little bit more intimate.
It has like a lot more natural beauty.
Natural beauty.
A lot of the areas are kind of like propped up on a terrace. So like the pool, for example, and like the cocktail area, it's all with the backdrop of just like
the mountains. For the ceremony part of that venue, it was also like on a grass, but it was just a lot more spacious, and I feel like it was like a lot prettier. Like I can imagine like the flowers on the aisle, and then just be able to have like a little art.
If anything, it's just more of a blank canvas
that you can just do whatever
it's kind of just like a huge nice patch of grass with a nice background, and it's just make this into whatever your heart desires.
We really like that one, but normally I think they only the wedding at point A, which was the one that we thought was like just okay, and not just point B usually, or they just combine everything. So we're trying to ask the owner if we can just do the wedding at point B, because I think that's honestly all the space that we really need for 50 to 60 guests. And that one was the one that we liked the most.
But I think it was very successful.
I think it was successful. I think the point of this trip was really just to see some of the venues and get a feel for it, help us decide where we would like our wedding. I think our next step would be to find a wedding planner. We don't have one right now, and I think with a wedding planner, either we can present a
venue to her, or she's able to help us find several options. If any of you guys have done a destination wedding, I would love to know whether or not you found a wedding planner first or you found the venue first. So this is the start of our wedding series. I also have a few other wedding series ideas lined up, but if you guys have any other video suggestions for the wedding series and what you guys would want to see, we would love to know as well. We are very excited to finally start our wedding planning after a couple of months, and TBD on the venue. Thank you guys for following along on our journey, and it's just so beautiful here, so we're really excited to explore and have our wedding here.
Honestly, very excited to start planning, even though I know it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, it's gonna be stressful, but it's going to be fun. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next video.